All right, let's continue our graphing. So for number 4, y equals a negative 1/2 sine of x minus pi over 3. This minus pi over 3 is going to affect our graph. It's going to have a horizontal shift, and we'll take that into consideration in a moment. Okay, but to start, before we even worry about that shift, I'm going to need an amplitude and a period length. My amplitude is going to be the absolute value of negative 1/2, which is 1/2. So that means my graph is going to go up and down 1/2 from the middle. My period length is going to be 2 pi divided by 1, which is 2 pi. All right, so my starting point to my ending point needs to have a distance of 2 pi. So what I'm going to do, because of this horizontal shift, I'm not going to go to my graph and plot 0 and 2 pi. What I'm going to do, and what you need to do, we're going to set x minus pi over 3 equal to 0 and 2 pi. Every time we have a horizontal shift, we're going to add this step. I'm going to set this equal to 0 and 2 pi, and I'm going to solve. All right. So I'm going to go from x equals pi over 3. X equals, if I add a pi over 3, that's going to be 6 pi over 3 plus pi over 3. I'm going to get 7 pi over 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph a starting point of pi over 3. I'm going to graph an ending point of 7 pi over 3. So I'm going to go over here, and lightly I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Starting at 1 pi over 3 and going to 7 pi over 3. So I count up at the same distance from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right, so this is where I'm going to start. This is where my period is going to end. Now, I'm going to do what I've done on all of them. I'm going to find the middle and the quarter. And I'm going to figure out what those are. So when I add pi over 3 and 7 pi over 3, I get 8 pi over 3 divided by 2, which is multiplying by a half. My middle is 4 pi over 3. I'm going to add pi over 3 plus 4 pi over 3 divided by 2, which is 5 pi over 3 times a half, which is 5 pi over 6. And then I'm going to go 4 pi over 3 plus 11 pi over 3 divided by 2, 15 pi over 3 times a half, which is 15 pi over 6. My pi. All right, so I found my starting point by setting x minus pi over 3 equal to 0. My ending point by setting it equal to 2 pi. I solve both. And that's going to be my starting and my ending point. I'm not starting at 0. So I label those two. Cut it in half and cut it in quarters and label the middle. All right, those are ugly values. I really don't like those, but we got to remember, they better turn out to be good. So I'm going to start with pi over 3. So I'm going to do negative 1/2 the sine of pi over 3 minus pi over 3. So I'm going to plug in my first value into here. Well, that's negative 1/2 the sine of 0, which is my good value. 0 is on the right side. My ordered pair on the right side is 1, 0. So the sine of 0 is 0. And I get 0. So my first point is here. Do it again. Negative 1/2 sine of 5 pi over 6 minus pi over 3. Doing this math, which we're going to see we're not going to have to do in a little bit, I'm going to make this 2 pi over 6, which is negative 1/2 the sine of 3 pi over 6 which is negative 1/2 the sine. Oh, there we go, my good value, pi over 2. Pi over 2 is 1, or pi over 2 is at the top. The sine at the top is 1 times negative 1/2. I'm going to put my next point here. We got to recognize, when I put in 5 pi over 6 and I did my math, I got the sine of 1/2. When I put pi over 3, my first point in, I got the sine of 0. So negative 1/2 sine of 4 pi over 3 minus pi over 3. I know, because I picked the right numbers, this went 0, pi over 2. That's going to be pi. My next one is going to be 3 pi over 2. It's going to work. If you don't see it, do the math. So my next value here, when I plug in 4 pi over 3, the sine of pi is on the left, sine's my y value, the y value on the left is 0, times negative 1/2, gives me my 0. All right, if I keep going, like I said down here, when I plug in 15 pi over 6 into here and do my math, I'm going to get 3 pi over 2. The sine of 3 pi over 2 is, well, at the bottom is 3 pi over 2. My ordered pair at the bottom is 0, negative 1. That makes my sine negative 1 times negative 1/2. I get a positive 1/2. Oh, I was starting in the middle, went down, went up, went up. My next point automatically is going to be here. Because if I do the math, it's going to work out that way. So I'm going to draw my graph. Since it's not an endpoint, it's not a high or a low, I'm just going to draw that curve right there. Understand, I don't care how ugly the numbers are on your number line. Doesn't matter. When you plug in pi over 3, you're going to be taking the sine of 0. When you plug in 5 pi over 6, you're going to be taking the sine of pi over 2. 4 pi over 3, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 3, always are going to give you pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. So we don't have to always do this math. As long as you got your numbers correct, it's always going to work out to be the sine and cosine of 0, sine and cosine of pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. Well, we could also say, I started in the middle, went down 1/2, went to the middle. That means I'm going to go up 1/2, down to the middle, negative 1/2, 0, 1/2, 0. So once you get 3 points, we can see what the pattern is. All right, so when I have a horizontal shift, set it equal to 0, set it equal to pi over 2, or set it equal to 2 pi to find out where you're going to stop and where you're going to start and stop. Then take that distance, which has a distance from pi over 3 to 7 pi over 3. That's 6 pi over 3, which is your period length of 2 pi. All right, we'll do one more. Whole bunch of stuff. Negative 4 cosine of 2x over 3 minus pi over 3 plus 1. Negative 4 cosine of 2x over 3 minus pi over 3 plus 1. The amplitude is going to be a positive 4, so I take the absolute value of that negative 4. My period length is going to be 2 pi divided by b, when my b is 2/3. So I multiply by the reciprocal, and my period length is 3 pi. So I'm going to take 2x over 3 minus pi over 3, set it equal to 0, and equal to 2 pi, because I need to know, because of this shift, where it starts and stops. 2x over 3 equals pi over 3 times 3/2. So I'm going to start at pi over 2. Solve this one. multiply by the reciprocal. And ends at 7 pi over 2. So I'm going to count pi over 2. That's 1 pi over 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pi over 2. I'm going to cut it in half and cut it in quarters. I did this one more time because I have a horizontal shift. Set it equal to 0, set it equal to 2 pi. That tells you where it starts and stops. So now I'm going to do my math. Pi over 2 plus 7 pi over 2 is 8 pi over 2, which is 4 pi divided by 2 is 2 pi. Two pi plus pi over 2 is going to be 5 pi over 2 times a half. It's 5 pi over 4. And I'm going to do 2 pi plus 7 pi over 2 divided by 2. That's going to be 11 pi over 2 times a half. And I get 11 pi over 4. Put this down here just to make this easier. All right. I've tried to stress to you, these values are not good ones. But when we plug them in, they have to be. So when I plug a pi over 2 into here, I'm going to be taking the cosine of 0. When I plug a 5 pi over 4 into here, I'm going to be taking the cosine of pi over 2. I don't need to do the math. But trust me, if you put pi over 2 into here and do everything, this is going to turn to 0. You put 5 pi over 4 into here, this is going to turn to pi over 2. Plug 2 pi in, it's going to turn to pi. 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. All right, so we're going to stop doing all that math. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'll just do it over here. For this first one, when I plug in pi over 2, this is going to turn to a 0. Automatically. Because I know 2 times pi over 2 is pi. Pi over 3 minus pi over 3 is 0. It works out. 0 is over here on the right side, which is the ordered pair of 1, 0. So I do negative 4 times that answer of 1 plus 1. And I'm going to get a negative 3. My next one, when I plug 5 pi over 4 into here, two times 5 pi over 4 times, let me start over again. When I plug this number in, 2 times 5 pi over 4 divided by 3 minus pi over 3. I'm so smart, I know that automatically is pi over 2 because it has to be. That's how we set it up. All right, so I'm going to say negative 4 cosine of pi over 2. Pi over 2 is at the top. My ordered pair at the top is 0, 1. My x value is 0. No. Yeah. Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. Negative 4 times 0 plus 1 is negative 3. All right, the next one, I'll do it here. Y equals negative 4 cosine of, all right, when I plug 2 pi into here and I do all my math, my answer is going to be pi. I know the cosine of pi, pi is over on the left side. Negative 1, 0, I take my x value. That's 4 plus 1. Let's do something wrong just a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Let's back up. I need to change this point. I'm dumb. The answer is 1, so I'm going to erase this point. That's why you always pay attention to what I'm doing, and hopefully I'll correct myself. All right, this one should be 1. Because negative 4 times 0 is 0 plus 1. All right, there we go. So that's going to help this out. This comes out to be 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. And I'm here. All right, so what I'm trying to get the point across, when you take these numbers and plug them into the x, the first value you plug in is going to make that parentheses 0. The second number you plug in is going to make that parentheses pi over 2. The third number you plug in is going to make it pi. The fourth one makes it 3 pi over 2, and the last one makes it 2 pi. So I could keep going on these points, but if we understand the pattern, I started at the bottom at negative 2. I went to positive 1. I went to 5. To follow that wave, that means my next answer has to be at positive 1. The next answer has to be at negative 3. All right, once you get 3, follow the pattern, go up and down that distance if you need to, and I connect the dots. Because these are low points, I'm going to curl my edges. No matter what values you write on that x-axis, however ugly they are, when you substitute them into the function, the first number you plug in, you're going to be taking the sine or cosine of 0. The second number you have written on that number line you plug in, you're going to be taking the sine or cosine of pi over 2. Sine and cosine of pi. Sine and cosine of 3 pi over 2. Sine and cosine of 2 pi. So if you need to do all 5 to get the points, and then draw the appropriate graph, or once you get 3 and you understand the pattern, you can get the next 2. And draw those 5 points. For cosines, you're going to end on highs or low points like I have on the board. So that means you need to curl your edges towards the middle. Sine and cosine, or the sine, you just go past it a little bit, like we did here. All right, that's the rest of the graphs. At any point you have questions, send me an email, send me a message through WebAssign, look it up on Google, Khan Academy, YouTube, call a friend, do something. But let me know what I can do to help you out. Have a great one.